The Great Depression in 10 minutes, financial independence. Let's take a journey back in time. A journey into the darkest economic storm the modern world has ever faced. The Great Depression. It wasn't just numbers on a chart. It was millions of lives were turned upside down. People who once danced to jazz in the Roaring '20s suddenly stood in endless breadlines. Families who had dreamed of a brighter tomorrow were left with nothing but dust, fear, and uncertainty. But here's the truth. Within this painful chapter of history lies one of the most powerful guides for anyone who dreams of financial independence today. If we can learn from their mistakes, we can prepare for our future. So let's rewind to where it all began. The Roaring '20s, a false paradise. World War I had just ended in 1918. American soldiers were coming home, victory medals on their chest, ready to build a new life. The world was celebrating peace, and the United States was entering what would be called the Roaring '20s. This was an era of booming businesses, wild parties, jazz music, and never-ending optimism. In Detroit, Henry Ford's Model T was rolling off the assembly line, revolutionizing transportation. Cars, radios, washing machines, and vacuums became household dreams. For the first time, mass production meant ordinary people could afford luxuries once reserved for the wealthy. But here's the catch. People weren't buying with the money they had. Banks made it easy to borrow. Credit became the lifeline of consumerism. If you didn't have cash, no problem. Just borrow. And so the illusion of endless growth began. Wall Street was on fire. From 1921 to 1929, the U.S. stock market grew 6 times over. Everyone wanted a piece of it. Ordinary workers, farmers, even housewives were pouring their savings into stocks. Many even took loans just to invest, believing the market would rise forever. It was greed, pure and simple. A dangerous kind of greed that whispers, "This time, nothing can go wrong." The bubble bursts, Black Thursday and Black Tuesday. But history has a way of humbling us when we least expect it. On October 24, 1929, the music stopped, a day now known as Black Thursday. The stock market crashed. 12 million shares were dumped in panic. Within hours, fortunes vanished. And just when people thought it couldn't get worse, it did. The following Tuesday, Black Tuesday, the market collapsed again, wiping out another chunk of wealth. In 2 short weeks, stocks had lost 1/3 of their value. People who had borrowed money to buy stocks were destroyed. Entire life savings evaporated. Families that had lived in comfort suddenly had nothing. But this was just the beginning. Bank failures and the death of trust. Here's the thing, the crash itself wasn't the full cause of the Great Depression. The deeper wound came from the banking system. Back then, banks didn't have deposit insurance. That meant if a bank failed, your savings disappeared with it. And since many banks had recklessly given out loans for stock speculation, they were exposed. When a few banks collapsed, fear spread like wildfire. People rushed to withdraw money from even healthy banks. Long lines of panicked citizens demanded cash, but no bank could handle every customer pulling their money out at once. One by one, banks fell like dominoes. By the early 1930s, 1/3 of U.S. banks had failed. 9 million savings accounts were wiped out. The money supply shrank by almost 1/3. And with less money circulating, businesses closed, jobs disappeared, and prices fell into deflation. Imagine that for a second. You earn less, but your debts stay the same, or even feel heavier. That's the cruel trap of deflation. The human cost, dust, hunger, and desperation. The numbers are staggering. By 1933, unemployment in the U.S. hit nearly 25%. That's 1 in 4 Americans without work. 34 million people had no income at all. And as if economic collapse wasn't enough, nature delivered another blow. In the Midwest, years of drought and poor farming practices created massive dust storms, what we now call the Dust Bowl. Crops withered, livestock died, and farmland turned into wasteland. Families packed what little they had into broken-down cars and drove west, hoping for a better life, only to find hunger and rejection. Across cities, shanty towns built from scrap wood and tin appeared, nicknamed Hoovervilles after President Herbert Hoover, who had failed to stop the crisis. The American dream had turned into a nightmare. The turning point, Roosevelt and the New Deal. But history also teaches us that even in the darkest times, leadership and resilience can bring light. In 1932, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected president. He came with a promise, bold action. His New Deal reshaped America. Suddenly, banks had deposit insurance, so people could trust their savings again. The Securities and Exchange Commission was created to regulate Wall Street, preventing reckless speculation. Minimum wage, unemployment benefits, and Social Security gave struggling families a safety net. It wasn't a miracle cure, but it was hope, and sometimes hope is the first step toward recovery. World War II, the final end of depression. Yet even with reforms, the economy didn't fully recover until another global event shook the world, World War II. As the U.S. mobilized for war, factories roared back to life. Millions found jobs building weapons, planes, and supplies. Demand skyrocketed, and unemployment finally dropped below 10%. It's sobering to think that the deadliest war in human history was what ultimately pulled America out of its greatest economic depression. Lessons for financial independence today. Now you may be wondering, why does all this matter to us today? Because the Great Depression is more than history. It's a warning, a reminder, and most importantly, a guide. Here are the lessons we can take. Number 1, never trust the illusion of endless growth. In the 1920s, people believed stocks could only go up. Sound familiar? Every bubble.com, housing, crypto, repeats the same mistake. Markets rise and markets fall. If you don't prepare, you'll be crushed when the fall comes. Number 2, always have a safety net. Millions lost everything because their banks collapsed. Today, we have FDIC insurance, but the principle remains. Never keep all your wealth in one place. Diversify. Keep emergency savings. Protect yourself from the unexpected. Number 3, avoid debt-driven investing. Back then, people borrowed heavily to buy stocks. When the market crashed, debt magnified their losses. Today, margin trading and over-leverage can do the same. Debt can be a tool, but in a downturn, it can also destroy you. Number 4, cash flow matters more than flash. The roaring 20s were about spending big, looking rich, and living large. But when the music stopped, appearances couldn't buy bread. True financial independence is built on cash flow, income that keeps coming, even in bad times. Number 5, government policy can save or sink economies. The Smoot-Hawley tariff, which restricted global trade, made things worse. FDR's reforms, on the other hand, restored confidence. The lesson? Pay attention to policies. They can impact your investments more than you think. Number 6, resilience is the ultimate currency. Those who survived the Great Depression weren't always the wealthiest. They were the most resilient, the families who cut spending, grew their own food, and found ways to adapt. Financial independence isn't just about money, it's about mindset. From depression to independence. So, what's the connection between the Great Depression and your financial independence? It's this: if the strongest economy in the world could collapse overnight, then we must prepare ourselves. Build wealth on solid ground, not on hype. Create multiple streams of income. Keep your lifestyle flexible. Financial independence doesn't mean life will be free of storms. It means when the storm comes, you won't sink, you'll stay afloat. The Great Depression was a tragedy, but it was also a teacher. A century later, its lessons remain our greatest blueprint for surviving uncertainty and building true freedom. As we reflect on that era, ask yourself, what would happen if the world faced another depression tomorrow? Would you be ready? Because here's the truth. Money comes and goes, markets rise and fall, but the person who prepares, adapts, and stays disciplined will always survive. And maybe, just maybe, thrive. That is the path to financial independence. If you found value in this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss powerful lessons like this one. And don't go anywhere. Our next video is coming up. The Dark Secrets of Money. Why you're not rich yet. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Stay with us.